bombers. You maybe saw something. I had a couple. When you said that, I was like, oh boy, that's what happens when I have to quickly share to try to catch everybody. And then everyone's like, oh, this is open, this is happening. And it's like, oh, you didn't, how? I'm like, I don't have a good feeling about a couple of these people. I was like, if you weren't in the first half, you aren't suddenly interested in talking about Cloud Cuckoo Land in the second half of this. Yeah. Hey, at least I shut them off in time. If you were here 2 years ago, when we first started Zooming, we had some classic Zoom bombers. If you go to our YouTube channel where we upload these things, you can look back and have some fun and see some of the original Zoom bombers that have not been edited out, that may have made the cut. And we had one of the politest Zoom bombers ever. Some of you were there for it. It was really instructive. I felt like this woman was helping me to delete her, to remove her. She was teaching me how to do it. On the way, she was saying a lot of, fairly inappropriate things, but yet it was like she had Tourette's. She was cursing, but then also like, oh, you got to press this button actually if you want to remove me. You have to, and then I can't come back. So I was like, oh, this is such a helpful person, even though they just wanted to come here and say 4-letter words about our book. But I know someone who doesn't want to say those things, and that's you guys that are here with us tonight. So anyone who hasn't had a chance yet that wants to say something about Cloud Cuckoo Land or ask a question, if there's something you're wondering about, I'm sure that some of us are too, and would love to discuss it. So feel free to bring it up. Is there anything I'm missing in the chat about tonight's book? Anything you guys see that you want to bring to the larger discussion? Helen, that's your first Zoom bomb, huh? Was it the flag? Was it the Nazi flag? That was the first clue that was a Zoom bomber when I had to remove them.
Well, I saw Mr. Ben Doerr and I was like,
yeah, Ben Doerr. I knew right away. Ben Doerr is not.
I saw him first, and then I was like,
that's why I removed first. Unfortunately, I should have removed the other one who threw up a swastika. I'm like, God damn it, Ben Doerr would have been better than throwing up the swastika. And then Will's like talking about like, not all neo-Nazis are bad. I'm like, hey, I got rid of them already. You don't have to try to appeal to them, Will. What are you doing? Why don't you go read Hotel New Hampshire? That's your punishment. Just kidding. We love it. Okay, Books and Bars top 3, The Passage. That was one of your top 3, The Passage. Nice, Will. Long books with many timelines. Yeah, that's what we don't always do that, but we do some challenging books here. Over 18 years now, we've done a lot. So I have a list of some of my personal favorites over the last 18 years. That's also in our bookshop that you can see. There's a lot of them that over time I look back and I'm like, oh wow, I can't even believe that we read that and talked about that. And there's other ones that's like, you know what, it'd be really fun to read that again. And I know that like we never read it with the same people here. So we've repeated only very few books, but I really do believe that the book can be totally different when you reread it. It's just, I don't take that much time usually unless there's a reason for it. I've been into a Murakami kick again lately, and I wanted to read more by Murakami. We read Kafka on the Shore and Wind Up Bird Chronicle by him for Books and Bars. But there's a few others of his that I really like to read and discuss. The 5th season. So N.K. Jemisin is on our list for possibly doing The City We Became this year at some point. We do have a pretty good list of ideas. It's also in our bookshop, so feel free to check that out. I'm still just looking for Zoom bombers. Everyone looks safe in here. You know what? I think this Rachel came in with no screen up is my wife, but the ultimate Zoom bomber would be somebody knowing my wife's name and using it in Zoom right now. So are you guys ready? Should we find out? Is this my wife or is this a Zoom bomber? I'm going to ask her to unmute. And Rachel Kamen, will you speak to us?
Oh my gosh, I'm dying laughing. That is so funny.
That's my wife. Only my wife dies laughing at stuff I said.
I'm sorry, I can't get my camera on. I'm just having so many technical issues tonight.
It's our house,
we all are.
I guess. We are with your Zoom and your camera. I don't know. Are the boys doing something? Who knows? They're probably playing PS5. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. But I joined late, so I am not sure if someone already covered this, but I loved sort of the texture of the story in that I loved how it not only jumped around from, one story to another, but I loved how they were spaced out in time. Like the stories weren't happening concurrently. They were spaced out over, centuries apart, and they all wove together. And it was just such an incredible feat, I think, to make that all work. I enjoyed it, and I was really impressed.
You guys, I think that actually is a Zoom bomber, not my wife. I apologize for her comments. I hope you weren't too offended. I just kidding. I just like seeing a few faces having a smile at our rep RT. So yes, that is my wife. And Rachel, great comments. I like what you're talking about with the texture of it. And I know that you and I listened to most of this together, and we're a bit challenged by it. And we both admitted to it taking a little while for it to click for us. And then I did the unthinkable thing of finishing it the final hour without her, and she was forced to finish the final hour on her own minutes before this event because I needed to do my research. And I just couldn't wait 2 minutes before this event to finish it. But anyway, so I got it done yesterday. She got it done today. And yes, there are so many good connections. And I remember there were times where we were looking at each other like, oh, okay, like this is like when we figured out, hey, this ship is not off the ground. this ship is not in space. Like what's going on here? And it was fun to actually share that and literally be walking the dog and then looking at each other and making like like those kind of faces. So yeah. So Rachel, even though we can't see your face right now, I'm sure that it looks something like this. As you were amazed by some of the things that I was, but thank you for the textures comment. Anyone else on how they felt about those connections and maybe the texture of the story, or anything else that you have? I'd love to hear from, again, anyone that's thinking about saying something. I mean, you guys, you came back for Zoom too. You put up with the Zoom bombers. It's so exciting. I feel bad that we lost a couple good people in this, and they're kind of like, they missed out on their shot, but I'm afraid to try to find them right now because who else might come in?
I guess the one thing that Rachel just made me think of, and I agree, the impressive way that I think Doerr, it was a timeless book and a timely book at the same time. At the same, you know what I mean? And just that the certain themes, and I love what Donna said of like the librarians and the books, and that they were able to you're able to see that through, as well as the story, like Diogenes' story. And so that kind of created this timeless effect of where all the characters were, but then there were so many parts of the book that were really timely and I think are sticking with us. And like, where do we, does our story too, like I found myself thinking like, does anyone that I know end up like a Constance one day, and we're not that far off, necessarily in terms of time there. So yeah, it was really impressive.
Thank you, Ellen. Anyone else? What haven't we touched on that you guys want to hear about? Anyone? Go ahead.
The one other element I really wanted to call out was the revision to the ending of the play that was kind of made in real time during this bomb threat. The idea that the character in the lost script couldn't have stayed in Cloud Cuckoo Land and accepted enlightenment because it's all written in the past tense to his like niece or something. And so he decided to come back or whatever and write this story. And I love that aspect gets preserved and like Constance finds it handwritten in the margins like 100 years later or whatever. I thought that was so poetic.
Is it,
That's a great point.
was it, did Amir, like, did they figure that out? Like, that was actually in the original too, that like, after the kids came up with it and the scholars are saying no, but I think when they show the real book that that Anna, saved, like, I thought they, like, did they show that, like, that was actually what was there, but he screwed up all the pages anyway and things, like, by accident, because he didn't know the pages are supposed to, but I think they confirmed that that was the real ending and the kids had it right and the scholars were wrong the whole time or something about it. I thought that was something that, I think I remember that from when they're like putting the book back together or something.
I think you might be right. That's, but I don't know that I felt like I was 100% sure of that. But I think that's what was. I think that's right. If anyone else has any thoughts on that, Donna though has a note
Yeah.
and she's got her hand up. Hi.
Well, I think that at the end there was confusion on the, when they had those little supposed pages of the portfolios in. It seems to me when it got to the very end, what they included was, there was a kind of a notes about, there were so many inserted words because they weren't sure exactly how the real original story ended. But there was a hint that it could have gone either way, in the sense that it could be that he decided not to do the be all end all in the clouds, but to go back. And I think that was a nice parallel to the story, in that, we saw this Ethan in the original story was going through all these different transformations. He was a donkey and he was inside a fish and he was a bird, and it sort of built up and up and up, kind of like in the story how we kind of were progressing through the ages, like Helen was saying, how things are kind of threaded together as we go through time. And then in the end, it was interesting how we weren't in outer space after all, no, down on Earth, and they're just going to figure it out. And it was sort of like, I don't know, sort of like Wizard of Oz, there's no place like home or something. I mean, it was one of those moments where you think, no, Constance was going to be happy to just be on Earth and figure it out, rather than be out in space and have this Sybil of all intelligence answering every question. There was that other question asked through the story. When you think you know everything, you really don't know anything, kind of thing. It was sort of like, that dichotomy too there. So I think by the end, we were sort of grounded again, which was kind of the way we were supposed to feel was okay, because after all, we're human, and, so on.
We're human and so on will be my excuse for why the Zoom broke. We had a Zoom bomber and my wife had no picture. We're human and so on. Will be a great, you guys will accept it, right? Donna's laughing, so I guess it's okay. Rachel G's got her hand back up. Talk to us.
So something you were saying, Donna, did we all miss this? Like, so he's a donkey at first, and
Yeah.
that kind of lent itself to Amir and like his cattle and stuff. And then the end one's a bird, and that's Constance in the space flying. Is it what else was between? Is anybody the fish? Who's the fish?
Who do you think's the fish?
I don't know. Zeno, I guess it would probably have to be. I can't think of him swimming or anything, but I guess he was across the ocean at one point. But
There you go. I like it.
was there any other transformations? Who's Seymour? Was he an owl? I guess at any point. I guess I don't know.
Good
Yeah.
question.
I don't know if there's not necessarily an exact parallel, but I just
Yeah.
think that all that aspiring to be somewhere else, and so on, it really was motivating, the other characters throughout. So, and in the end, they were, like someone said earlier, they all kind of got to a place of some happiness, but was where they actually were and were most grounded. So
Sue. Hi.
Hey, I just thought of this as we were talking. Did anyone else think about Project Hail Mary during the constant sections? I kept thinking she needed helpers like those two to help her out of this predicament, either that or the Martian.
Sue,
So I kept
actually, you
think-
know what? I got some serious Ready Player One vibes from it. Just like this
Yeah, I did that
simulation,
too.
and then looking, and like you're tapped in, and you're looking at sort of this Google Earth simulation, but you're trapped in this. I just felt, I don't know, there's a couple times where I was like Ready Player One. I was like, this feels
Yeah,
a little
that
bit
too.
like, the world is so bad, so we're living in this kind of simulation. But yeah. Good connections to past ones. This Zoom bomber, Rachel Kamen, has her hand up again. We'll give her another shot. Rachel, talk to us.
So I was thinking about that, the constant story, and there was that part of the story where someone, a boy, had gone crazy and tried to bust out of the spaceship. And that made me wonder if he figured it out or he had some inkling. Do you remember that? Like he attacked the side of the ship with something to try to bust out of it. I don't know. So
I
it just
think
made
he
me,
might have found some of those hidden things as well. That was my guess.
Oh, yes.
That
I like that.
he'd also figured out that they were not in space through the use of. I don't think they said anything about him being on the more older technology rather than the newer technology, but that was my guess.
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
like it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And
This is
for
good.
you all, I'm not sketchnoting anymore after the break, so I've already put one up. I will send it. It's just as is, as you know, it's a moment in time.
I like it. No, Rebecca, now you're freed from the sketch. Let's hear the real Rebecca speak now. You don't have to sketch. This is off sketch now. This won't make the sketch. What's something you would like to say that you don't want on the sketch? Now everyone, you can speak off sketch. I mean, it's still recording, but maybe I won't put the second part in. We'll see.
I always feel free to speak my mind, so I'm not sure that anything is coming up.
Yeah.
I do think this is one of the places where I publicly cuss.
Okay. Books and Bars is traditionally one of the places where you publicly
Yeah,
cuss.
I
Okay.
save really good expletives for this discussion.
That's fun. I think, have you ever noticed how sometimes people in our discussions prefer when I remove the hand raising aspect and they can just chime in? We've done this a few times in the live version too, where, if it's a small enough group, you kind of just jump in and don't have to wait for that. So I'm kind of wondering if there's anyone right now who just, it's the whole raising your hand thing and they just want to jump in, go for it. Anyone? No. That's fine. We tried.
I want to, I know we kind of have two communities, those who are mostly online and those who are mostly in person. And so I'm very grateful for those of you who still do come online. I'm still not out in the world as much as many. And and I know Donna, sometimes you double dip, which is always, I think, a great compliment to you, Jeff, that we're willing to, put up with you 2 days a month, not just one. Anyway, I'm very glad that this is continuing on. I know it may not happen forever, but it is much easier to do sketch notes when I'm in the comfort of my own home. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate that. And I do appreciate both versions of Books and Bars, however you guys can come to us. So thank you for taking your time and making the extra effort tonight. I appreciate that. You're always welcome. And like I said, Tuesday, April 12th, we'll do it again. And then the 20th, Wednesday, April 20th, we'll do it in person at Urban Growler. That's Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I will update our newsletter, our website, all of our socials. I'll put an edited version of this on YouTube. And if there's any other questions you have, you can always reach out to me. I'm easy to find. I'm at Books and Bars on social media, and I'm booksandbars@gmail for email. Feel free, ask me a question, send me a note. I'm always looking for more ideas. I keep adding to our list. And the more that you guys, talk about a certain book or vote for a certain book, the higher up on the list it goes. Like right now, Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. I'm listening to it. It's quite good. Is one that's gotten a lot of votes. Matrix by Lauren Groff. Surprisingly, a lot of you want to read Dracula by Bram Stoker, which I'm totally down with. We did Frankenstein, and I thought that was great. And I had never read the whole thing. And so I've never read Dracula. It'd be great to read it for the first time with you guys. The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. We love her. Olga Dies Dreaming has come up a few times. So yeah, I've got a bunch of them, and you can see them in a bookshop. The link that I've shared a few times in the chat. If anyone else has anything else they want to add, feel free. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you again on the 12th and the 20th of April. Have a very happy St. Patrick's Day if you celebrate. And even if you don't, I hope that you can start to return out into the world and back to normal after these last 2 years, whenever you feel safe and comfortable. But please do stay safe and always stay comfortable and have fun. And I wish you all a Zoom bomber as lovely as my wife, who, believe me, she's lovely, even though she's not showing her face right now. But maybe you'll see her in person at Urban Growler sometime soon. Thanks again, everybody. It's been a great Books and Bars. I will see you next month. Good night.
Thank you.